Well, welcome. I am Kim Evans, your host to Inspired Conversations, and I am so excited to be here today with my phenomenal guest. We are celebrating Black History Month, which makes it so epic, and welcome to the Black History Month edition. My guest that I have here today is no other than Mr. Keith Jones. He is retired vice president of UPS, Human Resources, Global Human Resources. Mr. Jones, thank you so much for being on my show today. You just don't know, in celebration of Black History Month.
Good to be here. Thank you.
What I like to do, I always love to open up my show and I love to invite God in. I hope that's okay with you.
That's great.
Okay, great. So I'm just going to start with a quick prayer. Dear God, thank you so much. We honor you, Lord. We honor you for just being almighty, being great. We honor your name. We honor your spirit. We honor your grace. Lord, you are the author and the finisher of our faith, the Alpha and the Omega. So I wanted to invite you in, God. I want you to invite you in so you can navigate this podcast. God, thank you for our guest today, Mr. Keith Jones, humble servant, his contribution and his years of service, God. We just thank you for being here today. And Lord, we thank you for our podcast listeners. May the information fall on deaf ears. May they be inspired and formed and motivated. And may the word go as far as the east as from the west and the north and the south. God, thank you. Mr. Keith Jones, I really would love to share a little bit about your bio. But first of all, again, I just want to say thank you and welcome.
I am humbled to be here and humbled to be in your presence.
Is it okay? Can I read a little bit about your bio?
Go for it.
Okay. I'm excited because, short is always sweet. We know that you were born in Berkeley. You was raised in Richmond, California, and married, two beautiful kids. And your education, 1973, graduate of Kennedy High School. I went to Kennedy High myself in Richmond, California. Your college is CSUH in 1977.
Mm-hmm.
But what I see here in management programs, you went to the University of Michigan and the University of California at Berkeley. Mm-hmm. But what I find that's just so epic is this next piece right here, that your employment with UPS started in 1976 to 2007. If my math is correct, is that 31 years?
That's 31 years.
Was
decades and change.
Oh my God. Was this your only job you had, Mr. Jones?
Not my only.
Okay.
Not my only. I had some other employment that I worked at part-time. For example, when I was in school, I spent some time at the post office over in Berkeley.
Got it.
In my younger years, I worked at the International House of Pancakes as a bus boy. So I did some other miscellaneous.
You did some other things.
Yeah, before I came across UPS.
Oh, wow. And now we are in retirement. And
Yes.
Your sports is golf, travel, church, volunteering, and philanthropy and
Yes.
his service.
Yes.
So Keith, take it away. I'm so honored. Again, I'm just so honored that you've given us your time. Take it away, and then I'm going to lead us into the podcast.
Okay. I'm going to push the rewind button for just a second and back up a little bit.
Okay.
And go back to my alma mater as far as college was concerned, because I noticed you mentioned CSUH, which is California State University in Hayward. And I guess since I left the Bay Area, there's been a name change. And I guess some unscrupulous person allowed my alma mater's name to be changed to Cal State University East Bay, I guess.
Yes.
As opposed to Hayward. So I took great umbrage at that change. I couldn't do anything about it though. So I've learned to live with it.
I love it. Well, so I want to ask you, when we look at you, when people look at you, we see three words. We see God, we see faith, and we see family. And our topic today is just a candid conversation with Keith Jones. God, faith, and family. Explain that, Keith, because I believe that this has been the base of your successful foundation into your retirement.
You kind of took the words out of my mouth, because it's funny, because from a professional standpoint, because I spent over 3 decades at UPS. When most people see me from a professional standpoint, they see me as the UPS guy. But as you just alluded to, my God, my faith, and my family, they are the foundation that whole 31 years of UPS is kind of based on. Yes. So before there was Keith Jones, the UPS person, there was Keith Jones, the faith-based family guy, who takes his God serious, takes his faith serious, and who takes his family serious as well. Yes. And those are probably the 3 things that I prioritize in front of my work. So when UPS decided to take me on as an employee, they took all those other 3 things with it as well. So it was a package deal.
It's a package deal. Mm-hmm. And I think that's pivotal, because oftentimes when we're going for careers, sometimes that's not considered. Sometimes we don't take that stance of our faith in our family. It's going to have to be a cohesive unit that's going to sustain the whole family. And if it doesn't, then I can't accept the role. And some people actually, they just go after the money, or they go after the status, but they don't go over, wait a minute, but what's number one most important? And yours is very, very clear. We see it demonstrated throughout your 31 years, and we're going to get to that, which is God, which is faith, and which is family. And I'm going to read a little bit of some of the testimonials too, because even some of the employees to this day that you've hired over the 31 years at UPS, the first thing they said, he's a God-fearing man. God, Keith Jones, a family man. God, Keith, just a faithful man. And that's just to be honored. And let's just pause right here, because in corporate America, those lines are so rightly divided to where it does not seem to be, it is not seen in the individual as a whole. And it has been seen as an individual as a whole. And I think that is some great credibility to be given on your part, and as well as to God.
Thank you. Well, it's interesting, Kim, because there are 2 kind of taboo topics that they say that they don't want you to communicate when you're on the job. And one is politics. They want you to check your politics at the door. And they also want you to check your faith at the door. They don't want you espousing your religious perspective, because those are topics that can cause consternation inside the workplace. But my position, as far as my faith is concerned, is I've always felt that I don't necessarily have to chat it up and talk about it at work if I'm living it. My faith should be seen and not necessarily heard. At some point in time, sure.
Demonstrate it. Yes.
At some point in time, if you spend enough time with me, you will hear it. But before you hear it, it's my prayer that you see it before anything else. So I'm hoping that the way that I'm conducting myself, carrying myself, the conversations that I'm having, the language I use, those types of things, I'm hoping will give people a preview of what my faith is about before they even get a chance to talk to me.
I love it. And isn't that the way that we are supposed to act? Isn't that the way that we're supposed to go about our service as being a humble servant to God? We're supposed to just demonstrate, right?
Absolutely.
So I'm excited. Let's get into some of these assignments. Take us back to the beginning of UPS. Where did it all start? Just give us a summation at the very beginning, your humble beginnings, because we all want to know.
My humble beginnings, and I'll go as deep as you'd like for me to go. And if I start going into the weeds too much, you can just give me the high sign and reel me back in.
All right. But, I'll fast forward you if I need to.
There you go. 1976, I was in my junior year at Cal State Hayward, and just always looking for a job, looking to better myself, and stumbled across UPS. Had a job posting, but also heard about it through a couple of people as well. Long story short, I got hired in as a package handler. I loaded trucks, is basically what I did for 4 hours per night. And it was like from 5 p.m. till 9 p.m. So it left my days free to go to school. So it for me, it was a match made in heaven. I could go to school full time during the day, load trucks at UPS at night. And I did that 4 hours a day, and did that for probably about 6 or 7 months. They saw some potential in me. They promoted me. I went into supervision, still going to Cal State Hayward. But at the time that I finished Cal State Hayward in 1977, shortly thereafter, in January of 78, they promoted me into a full-time management position in the personnel/human resources department. So January 78, my HR career began. But again, I'm fresh out of college. Haven't even had my, have I had my, no, I haven't even had my 23rd birthday yet. So, I mean, I'm still a young person getting this thing started. So, and that's one of the funny things for me, Kim, is that so many of the young men and women that I hired on early on, the age difference wasn't a whole heck of a lot. and many of the folks that I brought on board were older than I was. They just didn't know it at the time.
Wow.
But I did that job as a frontline HR person for like 5 years. I was promoted. They transferred me over to San Francisco as a manager over there, a mid-level manager. I worked in San Francisco from 83 until about 88, 89. I went on an assignment over to Asia when we expanded internationally over to the Asia Pacific area. I went over there as part of their planning team, and I was the HR person. So we opened up operations in Hong Kong and Taipei, and I spent a lot of time going back and forth between SFO and in Hong Kong and SFO and in Taipei. And that was a great experience, an opportunity to see the world and see another side of UPS that I had never seen before. I did that for about a year, came back to Oakland. So we're looking at now about 1989, spent a couple of more years in Oakland as a mid-level manager, was promoted in 91, was transferred to Houston, Texas as an HR department manager at the district level. So I had HR responsibilities for the southeast part of the state of Texas, which is primarily the greater Houston area. Houston is the 4th largest city in the country, and I had HR responsibilities there, and it was a major challenge. Did well in that job, enjoyed living in Texas, did that job for almost 3 years, and was transferred to the East Coast, living in Maryland. I had HR responsibilities for Southern Maryland, all the District of Columbia, and Northern Virginia. So got an opportunity to spend 5 years in the metropolitan DC area. Four years in a UPS district and 1 year on Capitol Hill, where I worked with our government affairs group. There were several initiatives that I had an opportunity to get my hands on. In 1996, Bill Clinton passed some welfare to work legislation, and UPS was one of the test companies that they used it on. So I was kind of a liaison between Clinton and his welfare legislation and UPS. So that kept me busy, and we hired an awful lot of people ourselves and 4 other companies that they use kind of test companies. We kind of developed a model to kind of transition people off of public assistance into the workforce, and we did a lot of special training with those individuals, and that was an interesting job. I transferred back to the West Coast in 1998 as a VP of HR for the Northwest part of the country. So I had HR responsibilities for California, Nevada, Oregon, Washington, and Alaska. And I did that job for about 3 years, and get transferred to Atlanta, which is where the world headquarters is. And I guess I spent my last 7 years, from 2000 to 2007, in our corporate headquarters in Atlanta, doing various and sundry jobs in Atlanta. But I retired in 2007. So that's kind of the quick the quick synopsis.
Thank you. That is just amazing. Let's just take a breath with that. To be able to have the longevity of the successful years that you had. That is amazing. That is so, when you look back at all the places, before I ask that question, oh my gosh, you've been to Texas, Asia, California, Maryland, DC, Atlanta. There was a couple of other places in between there as well. Did I miss one?
I think you got most of them.
Out of all those places and those experiences, what was your most defining moment?
I think
Was
I
it
think the
Asia?
biggest, well, I think that the biggest challenge was the Houston job.
Okay,
The most
okay.
the most satisfying job, I think, was the DC job. Houston was challenging just because it was really the first physical relocation where I had to uproot and move my family
Mm-hmm.
from California to Houston. So that meant, new church for the family, new school for the kids, a whole new environment as far as work and living was concerned. So that was the biggest transitional challenge. And then above and beyond all that, there's work. So you got to go to work and you're a new guy and kind of submerge yourself in this new Texas environment as opposed to the California environment that you're used to. So that was a challenge. But the most satisfying job, I think I probably had more fun in DC than I did anything else.
Really?
That was just a wonderful assignment. I'm a California guy, as you know, Kim, and that move to Maryland and working in DC, that was the first time that the family and myself experienced 4 seasons.
Really?
California, you don't get 4 seasons.
No.
Texas, you don't get 4 seasons.
No.
On the East Coast, you get 4 seasons. As they are experiencing now, things like snow and whiteouts and nor'easters and things along those lines. So that was a learning experience. But then just the whole East Coast, Washington D.C., the whole phenomena, the monuments, the museums, we took it all in. I mean, we took it all in. Every weekend for us, Kim, was an adventure. We went to either D.C. or we drove to Philadelphia or drove to New York, and everything was an adventure while we were on the East Coast, and it was a very satisfying assignment.
On the faith side, how were you able to keep it together, relocating to all these different places, some different countries, some different states? You always kept it faithful. So I have to ask you that question first. How were you and your family always able to keep that number one?
Well, interesting, Kim, because you have kids. So the first priority is finding a school that they're going to attend. And then the next priority is finding a church that we're going to attend. I mean, those were just the given priorities. Where are the kids going to go to school, and where are we going to worship? I mean, it was just the natural order of things.
So I'm setting it up. I'm setting something up here. So every single state, country assignment that you relocated, the top 3 things that you always had in order were what?
Well, first I had to find some place that was near the job, hopefully.
Okay.
Had to find a school, a good, hopefully high quality school for the kids to attend, and then we had to find a place to worship. That was the trifecta.
That's what I'm saying.
Had to have all 3.
Have to have all 3. Did you ever negotiate? Did you ever just say, no, we can't have the third one? Or was it always all 3?
Always all 3. And for us, Kim, it was like breathing. You don't negotiate with breathing. You don't say, well, all I'm going to do is exhale, inhale, or all I'm going to do is inhale today. I'm not going to exhale. You do both. If you're going to sustain yourself, you got to do both. And we were dead set on sustaining ourselves. So the job provided the financial sustenance. My kids had to be in school to get their educational sustenance, and we had to find a church to worship at to get our spiritual sustenance as well. So,
and I just have to stress that because that has contributed to your high level of success. See, when you put God first, everything falls into place. And you are a wonderful example of that.
Thank you. And you said it very well, because my faith provides for me balance in my life. It provides equilibrium in my life. You have people and I've seen people in my career who they get so tied up with work, it causes indigestion and they have problems and issues and psychological problems. And oh, no, take a step back, take a breath, let God take the steering wheel and let him provide the direction in your life. And it just, again, it's my balance, it's my equilibrium. It's kind of who I am.
I love it. I love it. So we discussed your assignments. Your DC assignment was your most fun assignment. Your Houston assignment was your most challenging assignment.
Mm-hmm.
And you talked about the locations, all the different stations and locations. But let's just back it up a little bit. Who were your mentors? Obviously, you had some awesome mentors in UPS.
Wow. Great question, Kim. And I was fortunate, and I did. I had a number of mentors. But I'll focus in on the two key mentors that I had. There was a guy named Ken Jarvis, and he was extremely important in that, if not the first, I think he was probably the first, but if not the first, one of the first African-American drivers at UPS. And you think about UPS now, a company, well over 100,000, drivers, and this guy was like the first Black driver in the company. He was hired in San Francisco, 1957, and just a great human being. But Ken Jarvis mentored another guy named Ken Parks, and Ken Parks mentored me. And just a good example, I think, Kim, of the responsibility. And these are all African American men, but just a great example of kind of passing the torch. And you have an opportunity. We're all standing on somebody else's shoulders, so make sure that, someone passed the baton to you and gave you the opportunity. So make sure you do the same thing and pass the torch to as many people as you possibly can as well. So yeah, I had some great mentors who ran a lot of interference for me in terms of lightening my load as far as UPS was concerned. So I needed to do the exact same thing for others.
I love it. I love it. So let's talk about a little bit. I have to ask you this question. Some of your most challenging assignments. When you look at diversity inclusion, I'm going to back this a little bit. As an African-American man in your position and as your role in UPS, what was most challenging for you to stay at this level of excellence, to stay at the level of vision, to stay at the level of leadership as you're hiring employees, and still be here with your colleagues, still be here with the people that you have to work with every single day? As an African-American Black man, what was the most challenging for you to stay at this level at all times? You stayed right here.
Well, it's kind of interesting, Kim, because there's a dynamic that I think anyone is going to experience as they start talking about climbing the corporate ladder and hitting those different rungs.
Yeah.
When you're at the low end of the ladder, and I look at that as when I was, for example, loading trucks. When I was loading trucks, I was in an environment where I looked around and I saw a whole lot of people who looked like me.
Okay.
But as you start climbing that ladder and you start hitting rung 2, rung 3, rung 4, and rung 5, you look around and the environment is not as colorful as it was when you're down on the first rung. In other words, you don't see as many people who look like you.
Yes.
And that can be a challenge if you let it be a challenge.
Okay.
Walking into a room or into a conference room where there's 20 people and there's 19 of them and one of you.
Yes.
That can be a head case for you if you allow it to be a head case for you. So it's a matter of experience. I think it's a matter of self-confidence. It's a matter of continuing to pursue excellence. Because when you pursue excellence and the people who are around you see that, wow, that Keith Jones guy, he's pretty good at what he does. I won't say that color goes away, because it's going to always be there. You're always going to be the one Black guy amongst the other 19 people in the room. But it becomes manageable when you're good at what you do. And I always try to strive for excellence in everything that I did. Now, if I ran into a situation where there was just blatant racism and I don't want you here because you're Black or whatever the case might be. Those situations are the exception as opposed to the rule.
Okay.
But if I was faced with one of those situations, I dealt with it.
Okay.
I dealt with it. And I guess the most logical question that might come after that was, how did you deal with it?
How did you deal with that? We want to know,
Well,
how did you deal with that?
well, I tried to assess each situation because what I have found, Kim, is that racism and bigotry, whether we're talking about in the workplace or even in our greater society, I think that it's based out of and it's stemmed out of fear and lack of knowledge and ignorance. Lack of knowledge is ignorance. If there's something that you don't know, you're ignorant to that particular situation.
Yes.
And a lot of my white brothers and sisters just don't know us, because if they knew us better, the fear level would go down. When the fear level goes down, then we can communicate man to man, woman to woman, without a whole lot
we
of
have a connection. Absolutely,
we have a connection there.
Yeah.
But yeah. So that was how I dealt with it. I talked to people and tried to kind of get the fear level down. You get the fear level down, we can communicate a little bit better. And or as one friend of mine mentioned to me one time, when racism is staring you in the face, oftentimes if you just pick up a mirror,
okay,
and put the mirror in front of the person so that they can see how bad they look, a lot of times they'll fix the problem themselves if they see how bad they look, how ignorant they might sound, and how disruptive your attitude is to the entire situation for us getting a job done. You know, you're adding consternation to a situation. We're trying to get a job done, and because of your bigotry or your racism, you're causing a problem. See how you look?
yes,
Hold that mirror up. See how you look? And a lot of times, once they see how they look, oftentimes they'll fix the problem themselves.
I love it. So you was able to reposition that. I love it.
Indeed.
I love it. So a little bit more about diversity and inclusion, your role in that at UPS.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think most people, especially in a corporate environment, the minute that you say the word, diversity, automatically they think race and they think gender and along those lines. But and at UPS, that's important to us as well, because when you see people who look like you, that's a pretty powerful non-spoken, non-verbal statement. When you're rising within a company and you look around and you see someone who look like you, so the gender and the ethnicity is important. But when we talk about diversity at UPS, we're also talking about diversity of ideas, diversity of perspectives, diversity of business models, diversity of a whole lot of things. So when we talk about diversity, we're talking about myriad of diversity, not just one singular aspect of it.
Thank you.
But and that's one. For example, if we are going to if we're going to build a plane, we at UPS, we might have an idea of how a plane should be built, but we want to get other perspectives. I mean, we might have engineers who have a aeronautic background who might bring something else to the table that we didn't think about. So the more ideas, the better. It's kind of the old, the only stupid question is a question that's not asked. So if you got an idea, bring it to the table. It might make the overall perspective better.
I love it. And inclusion. And speak a little bit more on that inclusion.
Well, inclusion is really kind of just getting everybody's idea. My idea isn't necessarily better than yours just because I know UPS better than you might know UPS, because you might have had 5 years of experience at another organization, but you still can bring value. So I want to include Kim into the mix, even though we all have 20 years of experience and she only has 2. Those 2 years of experience that she has are just at UPS. She might be bringing 5 years of experience from someplace else. So we want to make sure that we include her into the mix, make sure that her ideas are valued just as much as our ideas.
That's right.
And and just make sure that Kim has a soft landing, even though she's new and doesn't have the years of seniority that we have. Make sure that she has a soft landing here at UPS and that her ideas are valued as much as anybody else's.
I love it. Before you left UPS, Keith, tell us a little bit, any strategies that UPS used to include their employees so that their voices could be heard. What made UPS stand out from maybe some of the other corporations of
Oh, man.
including their employees into the
Wow.
fold?
Wow. What a great question. And that's one of those, that's just one of those core values that UPS has always had.
Mm-hmm.
We have always valued the input of our employees. UPS is a union environment. It is a Teamster environment. There are more UPSers who are Teamsters than any other company. If you took UPS out of the mix, they probably wouldn't be a Teamsters. So
Yeah.
there has always been this management union, and most people see it as opposites, friction.
Right.
But again, if you're talking to your people, if you're getting their input, if your drivers and your non-management, those unionized employees, if they know that their opinions are valued, if they know that their input is valued, if they know that their suggestions are valued, then that's half the battle. Because let's face it, Kim, I might be in this big, lofty vice president title, big, beautiful office, corner office, window overlooking. But at the end of the day, I haven't been on a UPS truck in 30 years.
Huh?
And those people who are out there driving the trucks, they are the ones who are generating the revenue for the company that's keeping me in that corner office overlooking the San Francisco Bay Area,
Mm-hmm.
So we have never lost sight of that. And it's interesting because one of the activities that upper management has at UPS is periodically, whether it's monthly or quarterly, executives put on their bright uniforms.
Wow.
And they go to a UPS operating center and they spend a day on the vehicle with the driver just to keep them in touch, just to keep us in touch so we don't forget where our bread is buttered. Right?
That's epic right there. That is epic. That's inclusion.
That is
beautiful.
inclusion. That is
totally.
Inclusion.
That's inclusion.
What,
in the basics.
Really, I mean, it's real easy for an upper management vice president type person to talk to a driver. Yeah, talk to a driver and chuckle at his complaint that the last 3 houses I went to, a dog chased me, and I could very well say that that's minutia. Just do your job. But if I'm out there on the vehicle with him,
that's right,
and the dog is chasing both of us,
right?
Now all of a sudden I have a great appreciation for when a driver comes to me and says, "You know what, that dog to almost bite me, the big German Shepherd, or because I spent time on the truck with that driver. Yeah, I can appreciate it a little bit better."
What did you like most about your job? What did you like most about your role in all 31 years? And I know each season changed. I know, but when you look back, what did you really enjoy most?
Kim, I'm almost hesitant to answer it because my response is going to sound so cliche. It's going to sound so cliche. But what I enjoyed the most was the people. Mm-hmm. For example, I've been from UPS since 2007. So what's that, 14 years? And it's like people say all the time, you don't miss the work, but it's the people. And, and for example, I spend a little bit of time on social media and on Facebook, and it's just so much fun to have people that you hired, Kim, people that you hired 30, 35, 40 years ago, find you on Facebook and send you a DM and say, "Is this Keith Jones that hired so-and-so back in 1979 or 1980? I think you hired me back in 1982 in Oakland." And it's like, wow. And then you see, Kim, those people tell you that you may have just been filling an opening at the time, but since then, I've moved from this job to that job. I'm working there full time, whereas you hired me part time. I'm working there full time now. I've been a homeowner for this number of years. I've sent 2 of my kids to college. I've been married for X number of years. And then you realize that hiring those people changed their lives. I mean, it actually changed their lives. So when you ask what's the most satisfying, it's hearing stories like that. And that has happened to me so many times just through social media. People contacting you and saying, "Yeah, you probably remember me." No, yes, I do remember you.
And what is it that stands out about an employee that you've hired to where you remember that it's like, yeah, I remember you. Wow, that just makes such an impact that you still remember them because you've hired thousands of employees. So when you look back, it's like, wow, what's some of those characteristics, if you will, that allows you to still remember the greatness of some of your employees?
Wow, that's a great question too, Kim. I guess none of the people that I hired, Kim, they were never just statistics to me. I guess I tried to personalize it.
Okay.
Tried to personalize it, and you try to remember, what they were wearing the day they came in, or something unique about them, or you saw them when they left the interview, they jumped into a certain type of car, so that registered with you.
Okay.
Or after you hired them, you had a conversation with their supervisor to see how they were doing, and the supervisor sang their praises, so it kind of registered with you. And so just little things to personalize it a little bit.
Any particular moments that's most memorable that stand out to you? Job well done, above the bar of performance of any employees that you've hired that's remarkable that you remember over your years of service?
For me or for the employee?
For the employee. Isn't anyone that you can remember that just was a shining star that just really stood out that you can remember? I'm sure there was many of them.
Yeah. Yes.
That's great. Do share.
And I'm realizing that I'm in a public forum right now, so I'm not going to mention his name.
You don't have to mention names. No, just the characteristic.
For fear of embarrassing him. But
no.
But just I guess he reminds me a lot of myself.
Okay.
This particular individual, physically a big guy, but personality and his presence is larger than his physicality.
Okay.
Just a great personality, warm guy. Never met a stranger. Everybody loves him. He loves everybody, and just a perfect fit for UPS.
Wow.
Just a perfect fit for UPS. In fact, he's in the Bay Area when I hired him, and he's retired now, living a great life. But if you mention his name, people who know him, they just smile. They just smile.
I just have to ask that question. I'm just going to read a few, if you don't mind, of some of the most beautiful compliments. Congratulations. God bless righteous man. Here we go again. We see the faith. UPS, this one in person in particularly has been at UPS for 42 years. UPS, and 42 years later, I'm about to retire. Oh my God. This one, the other ones can congratulations. You've changed my life. Such a legacy that you've left. Congratulations. I mean, when you hear all this, you made an impact on people's lives. And to this day, you've helped to change their lives. Their lives would be sustainable, their families. These families have put their kids through college. How does that make you feel?
Kim, it's very gratifying.
I'm gonna give you praise. I'm gonna give you praise.
Well, and it's very humbling. But what I like to tell people who say those kind of things to me, all I did was brought out what was already there in you. I just opened the door for you, that Ken Park opened for me, that Ken Jarvis opened for him, and hopefully you will pay it forward as well.
Amen.
Hopefully you'll pay it forward as well. Yeah. So those kind of comments are very humbling. In fact, they kind of borderline embarrass me a little bit. But I think it's what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to do the right thing whenever we can, and that's what I tried to do for 31 years.
And you really have made a difference, because we can see, as when we get to this book that UPS has out now, Black Voices from Big Brown, Untold Stories of Americans at UPS. And you are one of those leaders that have been recognized in the book. I'm tell you a little bit about the book. Black Voices from Big Brown is a pictorial book honoring the work of 29 African-American UPS employees, executives, some retired, and others currently employed as top executive positions at UPS now. Wow. They based the book equity, justice, action, diversity. This is absolutely amazing. When they asked you to be in the book, Keith, how did it make you feel to be one of the 29 that you were going to be honored in this hard copy book? And everybody go buy your hard copy book. So how did that make you feel?
Well, Kim, when I think about the first of all, the number of people that they could have approached to be a part of the book, and then them making a decision to include me, it was very humbling. When I saw the other African-American executives who were included in the book, many of them mentors of who I've alluded to earlier, also in the book, that was very humbling as well. But I really tip my hat, Kim, to UPS for even acknowledging the role that African-American executives have played in moving the company forward over the years. They didn't have to do what they did as far as this book is concerned, but they thought that it was important. I think rolling it out right now during Black History Month, obviously that didn't happen by happenstance. That was part of the program.
Absolutely.
In fact, you mentioned 2029. They were talking about having at least one executive to feature for each day of the month as far as Black history was concerned. So this is one of those years, I guess, where there's only 28 days, so we have an extra hanging out there. But I looked at the other 28 people who were featured in the book, and just all fine individuals, excellent people, excellent business people, excellent human beings, and I'm just humbled to be included in that number.
I love it. I love it. So I encourage all of you all to go on Amazon.com. I have it listed already on my Facebook page. A lot of the people that have commented have already purchased their hard copy books. How does that even make you feel? We put it out there and they're just like, I bought my copy. I just ordered my copy today. Keith, I got my copy. They're buying the book in support.
Well, which is really cool too. And one of the things that as people are contemplating, do I want to buy this book or not? One of the cool things about the book is that each individual that's featured in the book, there's a QR code in there where you can scan it on your phone, and you can see like a 30 or 40-minute interview that was done with each individual in the book. So it's not just buying the book and reading a bio and seeing a picture. You can get the 30 or 40-minute interview that was done as well.
And you know what else I love about the book that a lot of people don't know about the book, that all the proceeds of the book are going to be contributed to the March of Dimes. Is it the March? It was a foundation. I was reading in here that the proceeds of the book is being donated to, is it the March Foundation?
Take a minute or two and tell you a little bit about the March Foundation.
Yeah, the March Foundation.
Okay, first of all, March is an acronym for Mutual Alliance Restoring Community Hope, and the March Foundation is a foundation that was started by Ken Jarvis, that first African American driver that I mentioned before, and Ken started this foundation with a target on assisting African Americans with their educational pursuits.
That's right.
And right now, the March Foundation has a board of 24 people, all African American, all retired UPSers.
Nice.
So all 24 members of the March board are all retired UPSers, basically African American, basically people like me. And a lot of those people are featured in the book, as a matter of fact. Yes. So we kind of looked at the foundation when it was started in 1997. We looked at it in a kind of a twofold way. One, to assist and aid these young African American students in their educational pursuits, but also, Kim, as a way for us to stay in touch.
Yes.
A lot of times you retire from a job and you kind of just fade to black and you don't communicate with anyone. And one of the things that we didn't want that to happen. we want to stay in contact with each other. We want to keep the UPS brotherhood alive between ourselves and our families and because we know each other's family, our spouses, our kids, and we thought that this was just a great opportunity to stay in touch with each other and not kind of just float away and whatever happened to Keith Jones. Well, they see me like a couple of times a year at board meetings, so we don't lose touch. I love it.
So I want everyone to know, when you purchase this book, it's for a great cause. Not only are we acknowledging the 29 leaders and the contributions that they gave to UPS, but also that your proceeds are going to the March Foundation. So Correct. That's awesome. That's awesome. That's totally awesome. So when we look at travels, as we begin to wrap our podcast up, you've traveled many, many countries. Just about probably every continent other than Antarctica. So if now you're retired, so time, you have plenty of time. So you can select wherever you want to go. Where would you like to travel next in the world that you have not traveled?
Wow. I still haven't been to the motherland yet. So
really?
I have not been to Africa, and I have to go home at some point in time.
Yeah.
So that'll probably be my next pit stop.
And what areas in Africa would you like to travel to first?
Well, it's interesting. There are a number of locations that kind of have my curiosity. Obviously, South Africa, Johannesburg, Durban. I'm interested in going to Durban because I'm a beach guy. In fact, I'm in Florida right now, and I'm looking out the window, and that's kind of what I see out the window right now. So okay. I'm kind of a beach guy. So Durban has always been a place that I wanted to go just to check out the beach. The continent is so huge. Morocco, obviously, Egypt. So I have a number of places on my countries to visit list, and I'll get to it.
Oh, I know you will. I know you will. If anybody, no Keith Jones will.
I'll get there.
So before I ask you these last 4 questions, what I'd love to know, I got to know is what makes UPS so efficient? I mean, it had to be something when the founder first started the company. They're the most efficient to get one box from one city to one state. They're so efficient. What makes them so efficient? They're most efficient.
Interesting. Kim, I think paying attention to the details of the job, it's kind of like the old saying that if you take care of the pennies, the dollars will take care of themselves.
Right.
And it's the same thing as far as getting a package from point A to point B. If you take care of the little things, the details, the route that you travel, if you drive the package car, the route that you take, the motion that it takes to bend down, lift, stoop, get. So there's a whole lot of engineering dynamics that goes into it.
Got it.
We do time and motion studies on every single route that's out there to decide what's the most efficient way to deliver these packages, to pick up these packages, travel. It's the job itself is sliced down and cut down to its most detailed
precise
form,
and
then most precise form, and then finding which avenue is the most efficient, and just honing in on that. And then once you found the most efficient, repetition.
Got it.
Repetition, because the more you repeat something, the more efficient you become at it. Whether it's driving a truck, whether it's playing a musical instrument. Years ago, I took up the bass, and I have found that the more time that I spend, the better I get at it. And it's no different than delivering a package.
And on that note, what now has been your most favorite sport? So what do you do in terms of volunteering or philanthropy? Where do you give your time to now that you've retired?
Active in the church.
Okay.
I golf. But you mentioned the word philanthropy. And if there's anything that probably takes most of my time, it's the philanthropic part. because I think most people, when they hear philanthropy, they think giving money and donating and supporting certain causes, and that's part of it.
Okay.
But also, above and beyond writing a check to a organization or a nonprofit, there's also the giving of yourself, of your time, volunteering at a
Yes.
soup kitchen, volunteering, getting your kids to volunteer, and getting your kids to understand the importance of
Yes.
volunteerism and giving of themselves. I think one of the greatest skills that we learned at UPS, and I think that's one of the reasons why the March Foundation was such a natural transition for so many of us. UPS taught us how to give.
Hmm.
UPS taught us how to give. You know, you don't just write a check and give it to the United Way. You write a check, you give it to United Way, and then you volunteer at United Way to make sure that the dollars that you gave are
Yes.
being used for what you donated it towards. So,
Awesome.
so it's not just giving; it's strategic giving.
Strategic.
So, so what we do is that we write checks and we support the theater, and we support this and that and the other, but we also sit on the board at the theater that we give to. And of course, being for the shows that the theater puts on, but
Yes.
you know, but it's making sure that the philanthropic giving that you make, that it's smart and it's going for what you intended it for to go
I love
towards.
it. I love
Yeah.
it. So I have to ask you, as we close our podcast, what's your favorite food that you enjoy the most now that you've retired? Did you allow yourself to have every now and then? Because I know you don't eat it every day.
It's interesting, and I cannot believe I'm going to answer this the way that I'm going to answer it. My daughter introduced me to sushi, and
Nice.
and I actually like it.
I
I
love
actually
it.
like it.
Do
Now,
you?
now I find myself every now and then, Kim, I have to pick up the phone and I'll call her and I'll ask her now, what was that little round little roll thing that we had last time we were there? And she'll have to kind of walk me through the menu and everything. But yeah, I don't eat it often, but I enjoy it.
You enjoy it. Look at
Yeah,
the
I do.
joy. Look
Yeah.
at the joy.
Well, I think maybe one of the reasons why I enjoy it so much is because I associate it with my daughter.
Nice. I love
Yeah.
it. And you have been married how many years?
This year will be 42.
42. We
Yeah.
got we gotta
Yeah.
give. We gotta give
I'm in,
credit to
I'm
that.
in it
42
for the long.
years?
I'm in it for the long haul.
You in it for the long haul. 42 years. So, Keith,
Absolutely.
I am so excited. This has been wonderful. Thank you so much for your time. Everyone, please go out and purchase the Big and Brown book. It's on Amazon as we continue to celebrate Black History Month. Everyone, go and purchase your hard copy of Black Voices from Big and Brown. I'm so excited. When you look back, lastly, Keith, your legacy. Did you think your legacy would be this big when you first started at UPS?
um, Again, I'm kind of humbled, Kim. The answer to your question is no, because when I came on board at UPS, it was all about loading those packages into the truck. But what it has evolved into, I'm extremely proud of. I think I left a pretty decent footprint behind UPS, and I'm just hoping again that those folks who are still working their way through their careers there will perhaps maybe look at the little bit that Keith Jones accomplished, perhaps decide that they can do the same thing and pay it forward as best they can.
I love it. Keith Jones, God, faith, and family.
And family.
The legacy that you continue to grow and the lives that you have impacted. Thank you so much for being a guest on my show, Inspired Conversations with Kim Evans. Are there any last words that you would like to share to the audience before we close out our podcast?
Sure. One, thank you for the invitation. I have enjoyed it immensely. And then finally, I would say kudos to you. Kudos to you for putting on a fine show. I've had an opportunity to view a number of the podcasts and your guests who are all diverse, but they're all interesting, none the same. And I think that a lot of the interesting information that they share is because you've done such a wonderful job of pulling that information out of them. So kudos to you and continued success.
Thank you so much. God bless you. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you very much, podcast listeners. And thank you for viewers for watching Kim Evans Inspired Conversations. Thank you very much, thank you very much, Keith Jones, for being my guest.
My pleasure.
Bye for now.